So, welcome, Lisa Betts LaCroix, one of my dear friends. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. I'm so excited we're getting to do this talk about aging. And this is such a thing that's near and dear to your heart, my heart, and you have so much to impart on the subject. This courageous conversation, everybody, welcome to Courageous Conversation. And I am so delighted to bring Lisa Betts LaCroix back on the scene. Tell me something, Lisa.
Yes.
This talk, we're going to talk about rebranding aging, rebranding the aging experience. Tell me a little bit about how you came up with that concept.
Well, what I notice is that there's an incredible amount of fear in the world about aging, and it's not limited just to people, who are closer to our age. It's surprising that even people in their 30s, when I talk about this concept, say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're talking about that," because even I'm 35 and I'm feeling that things are going quickly, and I'm feeling that the pressure to live a particular life or create the life I expected to be living.
Right.
So the reality is that we have these cultural narratives in our story about what it means to age. And one thing I like to say is that some people believe that the way we live is from point A to point B, or there's this metaphor of the hill, right? And we get to a certain point in the hill, we're over the hill. And there's lots of language that you've certainly heard about aging. I mean, I don't have to tell you, old bag, not a spring chicken. Like, there's all these metaphors that are like, huh? And so there's this belief that a lot of people live into and are kind of hypnotized by, that when you get to a certain age, it's all downhill. And so of course people are afraid. I'll tell you really quickly, there's this very cute art video asking young people, 30, 25, 21, 19-year-olds, so what do you think is old? And they all say 50, 55. And then they say, well, and how would an old person walk? And then they do this kind of like,
oh, wow. Yeah.
So the thing is, we have these stories around aging, and so no wonder people are like, oh my gosh, and then you get to, around 50 or so, and what I see happening is so many people who are our peers, they hit almost like that Saturn return. I don't know if it has another name, where everything changes, life changes. So anyway, for me, can I say a little more about it, or do you want to say something?
Go ahead.
So I think one thing that happened for me is one day I was walking along the street, and I think I was telling you this story the other day about seeing dancers dancing. I looked through the window and I saw, it was like Richard Gere in Shall We Dance? And I looked through the window and I saw these amazing teenagers. I didn't know at the time, but they were high-level competitive teenage Latin dancers. And I said, whatever they're doing, I want to do. So I walked into the dance studio and I said, tell me about these dances. I want to do it. I asked questions about the schedule. I bought a card of 10. I didn't take the class. I was believing this narrative of it's too old. You're too old to reflect on something that's the begining of it. But do you have something you want to add to it? Do you recognize this, Victoria?
Yeah, no, I mean, I love the dancer, because I'm just an incredible dancer right now. You do tons and tons of ballroom and Latin and West Coast swing and all kinds of stuff. I mean, to me, one of the things that I experienced with you is such admiration that, here we are, we're 54, we're the same age, we went to high school together, we're in our getting into our mid-50s, and we're both doing some really exciting things in our life. And you're, doing this dance experience in your life, which I'm sure, your body hurts more now than it would have maybe 20 years, but you're still, you persist, you're in it, you're invested, you're trying, you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the second part of the story, is in spite of that fear or that belief system, I was so compelled that I decided to, well, actually, to tell you the truth, one of the pieces is, and I like to say, I had this card of 10, and 10, I paid $100 for this dance card of 10 lessons, and I didn't go back. And 10 months passed, and they were about to expire. And like I like to say, I'm my mother's daughter, right? I've got this $100 card of 10.
Let's not waste the money.
Can't waste the money. So I forced myself to go. And after a couple of classes, I completely fell in love with this dance form. And such that at the end of that year, it was a couple weeks before the end of the year, I made this goal. I thought, because those kids were competitors, and I just out of the blue, I said, okay, I don't know what this is, but one of my goals for the year is I'm going to compete in the ballroom dance competition.
How was that first competition like?
Well, there's a little more. One of the teachers that I'd been taking lessons with said, out of the blue, about 2 weeks later, around January 14th, said, because I'd made this on December 31st, this plan, right? And about January 14th, one of these teachers said, you know what, you should compete. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. Okay, I'm in. So the next 3 months, because I had that encouragement, right? I had someone saying, hey, I believe in you, you should do it. I trained really hard, and I did my first competition in April, 3 months later. And I just completely fell in love with it. And so that year I did about 6 competitions. The next year I did 10. And I just kind of fell in love with the process of training and working at dance and using competition as a benchmark for how are you doing and for how are you improving. And for well, I'm a performer, so I like the challenge of, can you hold yourself together in the middle of stress? And anyway.
So question, is competition more compelling for you? Or is the art form, or is it the competition that creates a real investment for you? Which piece of it?
I'm realizing recently that I just really love competition. I love performing and I love competition. And I think back to when I was an actor, and I think about why I was acting and what I loved about it. And I would say that I love process. I love the challenge of working at something.
Yeah.
And just benchmark that, to just bookmark that, that is actually one of the skill sets and one of the focus things that will help us to age more vibrantly, right? Is to take on something new, to be a beginner, to learn something new, to take on something that you don't know how to do, to live in beginner mind, to challenge.
To live in beginner mind. I find that really interesting. And competition must really bring that out initially.
Well, so that I'm jumping around, but so in answer to your question, I love the process, and I do think it's a really compelling and empowering thing to do, is to try something new that you haven't done before, that you're inclined to do. And so that's one thing I tell people is, do something that's new. Do something that you maybe always thought, oh, I'd love to do that, but it's too late, I'm too old. But just just throw that out and do it anyway. So in answer to your question, I love the process, I love the learning, and I do like competition. I like that there's this challenge of, and it's similar to acting. When I was an actor, I loved auditioning, and I love that, like, even though it's hard, and there was always that compelling aspect of, can you stay true to yourself even if you don't get the job? Can you stay true to yourself even if you are dancing against people who are better than you? Can you stay true to yourself and to your process even if you don't place in the competition?
So what I'm hearing is that part of the thing about keeping a youthful mindset while we're aging is to be willing to be the beginner, be the non-veteran at whatever it is that's coming up. And in your case, the process of trying the dancing and toiling in the process of it keeps you quite young in mind, young in body, young in spirit.
There's all kinds of then do that, like, it's always, there's that. I believe everyone has at least one, probably more things in the back of their head that they're always like, oh, I always wanted to do that, or oh, as a kid I dreamed of this. And actually taking the risk to do it, I believe is super powerful, not only for the brain but for the spirit, and just to stay engaged. It also puts you, the second piece is community and connection, and it also puts you with other people who share a passion and an interest, and gives you shared processes with other people.
Yeah, and I find that as we get older, people in my practice say things, well, I'm too old to make new friends, I don't want to make new friends, I just want to go home and watch TV, there's a tendency to get more in a box, or more protective and more isolated. And again, I'm thinking one of the pieces that you're talking about is, hey, be the beginner, learn something new. And then another one that you're saying, just to add to the list, is, stay in community, stay involved, stay in connection. That's not easy.
Yeah, I don't know if you got me back again, but something else that I'd say that I've been thinking about today that I think is really, really important for people that are getting older, right? This is a bit of a dichotomy. On the one hand, as we've gotten older and we have more wisdom, it's a really powerful thing in terms of connection, to share, right? Support other people, to help other people who are younger than us, but here's the thing. We live in a time now where the world is changing so quickly that a friend of mine was saying, she wants to create this mentorship program where older women mentor younger women. And I say that's a powerful way to be connected with people and to contribute and to stay in relationship. But here's the thing. I believe that it needs to be mentored. The way we need to think about mentoring is bi-directional, because we as older people have so much to learn, not only from the people older than us and so much to contribute to people who are younger than us, but we have so much to learn from people who are younger than us.
So what you're saying is stay teachable, stay open, stay coachable.
Exactly.
We have something to learn, but we have something to teach. It's a bi-directional experience.
Bi-directional. It's like, yes.
Like that. I love that. Now, Lisa, sorry?
It's so powerful because it also creates a foundation for that second principle that I have, which is connection and community.
Yeah.
And contribution, it's
like, you're in this thing called, my show called Courageous Conversation. So what's a courageous thing you can share about your own, like one thing you said to me, which I want to bring up soon, is you're doing a talk about this at a conference. You're writing a book about this. Talk to us, because we're going to be interested in getting this book. And what's this book going to be called potentially? Talk about this.
So the working title of the book is Rebranding Age, The Crone Needs New Clothes. And not everyone knows what a crone is, but for a while I was going to call it The Crone Needs New Clothes. Hell, I'm a Latin dancer. The thing is, not everyone knows what a crone is. So just in brief, there's this concept in women's life cycle that is, we go from maiden to mother to crone, right? That we're young girls, and then we have kids, and we can become mothers. Oh, is that noisy?
It's okay.
And then we become mothers, and then after we're mothers, we become old wise women. Well, I say that because medical science is changing so much right now, medical science is increasing the degree to which we're going to be living long lives, and all of that aging is going into our midlives. We're going to have these longer midlives. So I'm saying that those three elements are not enough. We need another one, and I don't know if it's queen or,
after crone?
No, before crone.
Okay, so maiden, mother, and then
queen,
crone. Like queen, yeah. Then crone.
Something, and then the other thing is, so that's why I was originally thinking it was about rebranding the crone, right? But maybe
hot crone.
So anyway, the other thing that I wanted to share about the courageous part of it, right, is that when I started dancing, after I did all this work and I was working so hard and I was loving dancing, and I was crazy. I would wake up go over my routines. Anyway, then in 2014, about a year and a half or 2 years after I started dancing, I won a world title in my age category, at my level, and it was a really big deal for me. Yeah. And so I started to do talks around that time that included a dance performance, but they were all about how we need to be change agents. We need to change the perception of age. And I talked about these people like Rose Green, who's a sprinter, an 78-year-old sprinter who started running when she was 76. And Ernestine Shepard, who I don't know if you've seen her, she's an 80-year-old bodybuilder. Yeah. Unbelievable, right? So telling these stories to say, let's change our idea about what we think of aging. And then my mom died. And then my relationship started imploding, And so I think I got face to face with the fact that it's one thing to say, hey, we can live vibrant lives. We can rebrand aging, when I was 52 and standing on a world title platform, and I was, in my sexy outfits and stuff. But then the question is, then I got tested. It's like, can you really believe that you can live a vibrant life and that aging is an okay thing and that we can rock it when you're faced with the fact that you're going to have grief, you're going to have loss?
Yeah, because as we get older, there's more of a probability we're going to lose people. There's more of a probability that maybe the relationships are going to be tested, that we're fine during the mother years.
So it goes back to that idea of that we're living this life on a trajectory from A to B, and that we're like on a hill. And I say the new metaphor is that, in fact, we're living a spiral life, right? So it's not like our life isn't going to take us. It doesn't take us over this hill and then down. In fact, sometimes we're going to spiral down, and we're going to have to dig into the depths, of our own psyche and our own strength. We're going to be on our knees, because you can't get through this life without some grief or some loss. And so when you're on your knees, you're in this spiral down cycle, but then that's giving you the opportunity and the strengthening so that the next level of aging is potentially a spiral up.
Spiral up, right. Right.
We come back in bigger, stronger, because this is our true nature, right? The thing is, constant reinvention is our true nature, and we only become old when we accept this ossification principle, when we're trying to hold on to not to change. We're trying not to change. When we actually accept our true nature of regeneration, and constant reinvention, then we actually can live vibrant lives and be, and have you seen that there's a beautiful cartoon, this beautiful woman of these lined women, and they say, oh, remember, we used to be young and beautiful. Now we're just beautiful.
I love that. And I mean, that's like right on. And I totally relate. I think that's awesome. And I also feel like, a lot of, I have to say that today I've worked with people like 30 years old, 28, 29, 30, that kind of, 27, 20, 29, 30, 31, whatever. And they're feeling, like they're not getting it fast enough, and they're not, finding their soulmate or doing the job that they think they need to be doing by this age. It seems to be societally pervasive that we're in a hurry somehow, or that there's some time limit on whatever's going on. What do you say about that?
Well, it's not surprising. I was saying the same thing, that I meet people and I see that they say things like, oh my God, I'm getting old. I'm like, you're 25. It doesn't matter how old you are. You can feel like you're getting old when the cultural narrative is, oh my God, don't get old. It's terrible. It's horrible.
And do you think that the cultural narrative in Silicon Valley,
Silicon Valley.
What are we calling it? Sorry.
Silicon Valley. It's Silicon.
Silicon, not silicone, but silicon. Silicon Valley. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's so youth oriented. People are making millions in when they're 19, and
Exactly. Yeah, it is very youth oriented in certain ways. And at the same time, I'm surrounded here by people in science and medicine, entrepreneurs who are really changing the story around aging. They're coming up with cures. The
biotech field.
Biotech's huge here. And, Aubrey de Grey is a pretty known person in that aging, in the aging world. And he's made this provocative statement. People don't know if it's true. Some people think it might be, but he's made the provocative statement that the first person who's going to live to see 150 has already been born. Dave Asprey has the goal to live to 180. I think he's at 182. I'm not sure why it's 180.
Holy. So we're changing our time on this planet. The longevity is really, really something that we can normalize now.
Yeah, scientists are working on a principle. It's on the practice of 3D printing for the purpose of printing organs, human organs.
Are you doing that already with ears and whatnot?
Yeah, there's a lot of research that shows if you exchange the blood of a young mammal with the blood of an older mammal, if you merge the blood, that the older animal actually biologically becomes younger. So there's anyway, the bottom line is already is there's like 3 times more people living to be 100 than there were 2 or 3 decades ago.
Okay.
Possibility of living many more decades than we might have thought early on. And so my question is, okay,
we're here, we're back.
Okay, so, my question and my goal, I say, okay, great. I'm so glad the scientists are doing that work. And my goal is I want a midwife, a vibrant attitude towards what those years are, so that you and me and people that we know can take full advantage of the fact that this midlife time, this the stage of midlife is expanding, so that we can live it in ways that are contributive and learning and engaged and creative and alive.
I think I mentioned this when we talked on our live, but I'll say it again. My favorite meme is this guy. He's a dude. He's got long hair, gray long hair, and he's got a wetsuit on. He's sitting on a board, and he's waiting for a wave. And he's like, the trick is you want to die young, but really late in life.
Okay, that's another thing. So that's another thing medical science is doing. So a lot of people, if you tell them, we're extending aging, now you're going to live longer than you might have thought you were, people say, oh, I don't want to live longer, because they have the sense that living longer means a longer end of life decrepit period. Decrepit. So that's their association. The reality is that as science is changing things, that And as people get older, there's a concept called super agers. There are people who are over 105.
Wow.
And this science shows that even though we increasingly get, we're more prone to getting ill through the course of getting older, there's a certain stage where we hit where actually dying actually levels off. And so the reality is that people who are super agers actually stay healthier longer, and they hit that point much closer to death.
What makes them a super ager?
The people that fit in this category where they avoid age-related diseases until
and so their immune system is still strong, and their body's still strong, and their muscles and all that stuff.
I don't know if scientists know exactly the reasoning behind it, but there's just, there's just research that shows that if you hit this certain point, that you're much actually less likely to get a disease and to live a healthy life until the end, basically. And so then you will have exactly what that man suggested, is that live healthy, live vibrantly, live long, live like physically, live beautifully, live
die young but late.
And then when you're ready, then you just like go off the cliff at the end on not living. See, the thing is, we can be living dead, right? But no matter what age we are, because so much of it is about how we think about it and what we do with our time. And if we're sitting in front of television, then we're much more likely to begin to ossify on all kinds of levels, physically, mentally. But if we're actually
movement is everything. There's all kinds of science around that our body is regenerating much more at a rapid pace with exercise and movement. And I was listening to a lecture that talked about 5 days a week. Moving 5 days a week is the magic number. Not 3, not 2, not 7, because 7 you can get burnt out. But 5 days a week is the magic formula and it's not about massive, crazy, horribly difficult exercise. It's about some walking and some stretching and some breathing fresh air and moving your body. 45 minutes, 5 days a week. That's the magic number to keep that aging process at bay.
And I would say feeling good doing it. So if that means walking in nature, getting some fresh air on your face, feeling the sun, that's a great thing. If it means something that you love to do, if you love yoga, then great. If that relaxes you.
And gratitudes, I would say, is another one. Being, really acknowledging what's around you and being grateful for it, keeping that mind state positive and open. And you said teachable. I'm just recapping as we begin to round out our talk today, our courageous conversation about aging and rebranding. I love what you said, rebranding the aging process. And Lisa, how can they find you? This is something so important. I want them to be able to be in touch with you. How can they get the book when the book comes out? I want you to be able to like, hey, here's my book. Here it goes.
Yeah, well, I have the domain Rebranding Age. It's not up yet, but that will be something. But right now, I'd love it if people listen to the podcast. I'm at Superpower You, which is the letter U. If you search for my name, Lisa Betts-LaCroix, on any podcast platform or Superpower You, you will find me. I also love it if people follow along my page on Facebook, which is also Superpower, the letter U. I'd love to get people's feedback and thoughts on this, because I think it's something we're doing collaboratively, especially for women. Women are such that we rise up together, we change together, we grow.
Oh, yeah.
So, love collaborations. I love it, having conversations with people. I love to hear people's input and their personal experience. And you can also find me at lisabl.com.
lisabl.com. Superpower You with the letter U. Check out her podcast. It's always an interesting conversation. It's always fascinating. And also, last bit of wisdom for the folks, Lise. What would you say in a line or two, the most important thing to rebrand age is?
I think I would say that I think one of the most important things is checking yourself and your thoughts and your words, because we didn't get to it, but words are important too. Watch the words that come out of your mouth when you talk about yourself. And
Beautiful.
then, if you're saying, oh my God, I'm too old, like that's going to be impacting you. If you can celebrate and risk the new, and do something that might be uncomfortable and, embrace it. I'm working on growing my gray hair out. So
are you?
Yeah, there's a lot of people on Instagram and who are like, they have like a Silver Sisters thing, and basically the people like they'll take a picture, like, okay, there it is now, and there it is now, and you know, and embracing it, and like there's some hashtags like Silver Vixen, you know, like, hey, so it goes back to that idea, like you don't have to be young to be vibrant and beautiful and, you know, embodied and sensuous and sexual. And so,
well, you certainly embody, I don't know about you, but that gray hair is looking fantastic on you. It actually works really well with you. And if it's something you're trying out, I think it's a cool thing. I think it's really great. And also I love what you say. I mean, because I'm all about, you know, rewire, you know, the neural pathways, rewire your brain through your thoughts and your words and your actions and your repetitive thoughts, words, and actions. Yes. That's what's going to rewire your brain. And I also love, just to recap, the notion of being a newbie, be teachable, try something new. You know, it's a two-way street. You're giving advice, you're getting advice. It's a process of two people, young, not so young, conversing, dialoguing. And I really love try new things. I really love move your body. And I really love watch how you perceive yourself and describe yourself. I love it, love it, love it.
Oh, so great. And so much of that stuff is stuff that I know you work on with people all the time. Your practice and your books and really thinking about the concept. And I, you know, I just want to mention one of the things, because you were on my show, on my podcast, one of the things I listened to it again recently, one of the things I just took away and I went back to, you talked about how you rewired your thinking by listening to Louise Hay. And I started listening to her affirmation YouTube videos recently again, because exactly that thing, like the power of telling yourself. And I just have this image that you shared on my show, Victoria, that just stuck with me so much. And that was you at 20 years old, knowing you wanted to change the narrative for yourself at that time, and being on the treadmill and just saying it over and over again for like half an hour or an hour. Just so powerful. And it's really been a gift, because I've been reintegrating that kind of process into my life now too.
I still do it today. You know what? When I'm looking to manifest different ways of looking at things, I still do my affirmations. I do them every day. I walk that talk in a massive way. Yeah. What were you going to say?
Sorry to interrupt you. Yes, because I said, you said, thinking about what you just said, like, I still have that happen. And I think that is the courageous part of the conversation that needs to be said so deeply, is that if you feel the pain, if you feel grief about your youth, that this is not about pretending that, yeah, this is all great. Yeah, I love it. I think the power is to actually letting yourself feel that pain and that grief and that loss as you feel it, and then to recreate it. But you cannot get to the affirmation it's actually working until you go through the fire and the acceptance and stay with the actual grief and loss that's so human.
I love that you said that, because it's not just a freaking picnic.
Right.
We're not going to go quietly into the night, people, okay? We're not going quietly.
It's got to be real. Like, it's got to be real. You got to be authentic with what's true. And if you're feeling crappy about yourself, then you have to let that be. And, you know, the like, it's the both and. It's not just one of, I'm going to like convince myself, fake it till I make it, da-da-da.
No.
It's like, I'm going to deeply sink into and experience this depth of being a delicate human being. That means I'm going to experience grief, loss, and sadness, you know?
All right. I'm going to end, my darling. Thank you so much. You are wonderful.
I love you.
Talk to you soon, my darling woman. Love you.
Love you.